Captain Danny Morgan stood on the bridge of the Endeavour, watching the stars drift past on the view screen. His ship had been on patrol for 3 weeks now, checking the frontier systems where human space met the unknown regions of the galaxy. It was routine work, the kind that made crews restless and bored. Danny preferred it that way. Boring meant safe, and safe meant everyone went home. "Captain, I'm picking up something on long-range sensors," Lieutenant Lisa Park said from her station. She leaned forward, her fingers moving across the control panel. "Multiple ships, heading our way. Configuration doesn't match anything in our database." Danny felt his pulse quicken slightly, but he kept his voice calm. "How many?" "7 vessels, sir. They're big. Really big. The largest one is twice our size." Lisa looked up from her screen. "They're slowing down. I think they want to talk." "Battle stations, but keep weapons powered down," Danny ordered. "Let's not start a fight we can't win." "Lisa, open a channel on all standard frequencies." The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency. Commander Greg Sullivan took his position at the tactical station, while Tracy Wells adjusted their course to give them room to maneuver if needed. Dr. Kevin Hayes emerged from the science lab, drawn by the alert status. Amy Chen's voice came through the intercom from engineering, confirming all systems were ready. The view screen flickered, and an alien face appeared. Danny had seen plenty of alien species during his 20 years in space, but this one was new. The being had smooth, pale blue skin and large dark eyes that seemed to reflect the light in strange ways. Its head was elongated, with small ridges running along where a human would have a hairline. "Human vessel. I am Zelthor of the Calaxian Coalition," the alien said. The translation came through clearly, though Danny could hear the odd musical quality of the original voice underneath. "We mean you no harm. We have detected your presence in this region and wish to establish peaceful contact." Danny relaxed slightly. "I'm Captain Danny Morgan, of the Earth ship Endeavour. We welcome peaceful contact with the Calaxian Coalition. This is our first meeting with your people." "Yes, we are aware," Zelthor replied. "Your species has only recently begun exploring this area of space. The Coalition has been watching your progress with interest. We maintain order and peace among 12 member species in this region. We hope humans will become friends to our alliance." The conversation continued for several minutes. Zelthor explained that the Coalition had existed for thousands of years, far longer than humans had been traveling between stars. They had strict protocols for first contact with militarized vessels, which was why they had approached the Endeavour rather than civilian human ships. Danny found himself liking the alien. Zelthor was direct and honest, with none of the political dancing that often happened in these situations. "Captain Morgan, I must make a standard request," Zelthor said. "When we encounter military ships from species new to us, our protocols require a sensor sweep of the vessel. This helps us understand your technology level and ensures there are no misunderstandings about capabilities. Would you permit such a scan?" Danny glanced at Greg, who shrugged. It seemed reasonable enough. "I don't see a problem with that. Go ahead. Thank you for your cooperation. This will take only a few minutes." A smaller ship detached from the Calaxian fleet and moved closer to the Endeavour. Danny watched it on the view screen, a sleek vessel covered in sensor arrays and scanning equipment. It circled their ship slowly, and Danny could see faint energy pulses as it worked. "They're running deep scans," Greg reported, looking at our hull composition. "Power systems. Everything. Pretty thorough." "Let them look," Danny said. "We've got nothing to hide." "Maybe they'll be impressed by human engineering," Lisa laughed. "Or maybe they'll wonder why we're still using fusion reactors when they probably have something 10 times better. Our reactors work just fine." Amy's voice came through the intercom, sounding offended. "I'd like to see their engineers keep a ship running with spare parts and creative thinking." The bridge crew relaxed into the familiar banter that came with long months in space together. Danny half listened to Kevin explaining something about quantum mechanics to Tracy, while Greg made notes on the Calaxian ship formations. Everything felt normal, routine even, despite the fact they were making first contact with an advanced alien civilization. Then everything changed. "Sir, the Calaxian scanning ship just stopped moving," Greg said, his voice sharp with sudden tension. "Their sensors went offline for a moment, and now they're rebooting." Danny turned to face the view screen. The alien vessel had indeed stopped its orbital scan of the Endeavor. It hung motionless in space, and Danny could see its running lights flickering in an irregular pattern. "What happened? Did we do something to their systems?" Danny asked. "No, sir," Kevin said, moving to an unused science station. "I'm reading the reflected sensor data from their scan. They were using standard electromagnetic sweeps. Nothing that would be affected by our systems. But look at this." He brought up a display. Right before they stopped, their scanning frequency spiked into ranges I've never seen used before. These are the kinds of sensors you'd use to study stars or black holes. Not ships. Lisa tried to hail the Calaxians, but there was no response. The scanning vessel completed its reboot and immediately began scanning the Endeavor again, but this time with even more intensity. Danny could actually see the energy pulses now. So strong they created visible distortions in space. "They're really interested in something," Greg muttered. "Captain, should we be worried?" "I don't know," Danny admitted. He tried hailing Zelthor again, but the alien didn't respond. The entire Calaxian fleet had gone silent. Minutes passed. The scanning ship made 3 complete orbits of the Endeavor, each time using different sensor frequencies. Danny could feel the tension building on his bridge. His crew knew something was wrong, even if they didn't know what. Finally, after nearly an hour of silence, the Calaxian fleet began moving. But they didn't leave. Instead, they formed a loose sphere around the Endeavor, not threatening but clearly blocking any easy escape route. "Captain, I'm getting a message," Lisa said. "It's from Zelthor, but it's text only, not voice. Put it on screen." The message was brief and formal. "Captain Morgan, the Coalition requires time to analyze the data from our sensor sweep. Please remain in your current position. We will contact you again soon. High Curator Velshera sends her regards." That was it. No explanation, no hint of what they had found. "Well, that's not ominous at all," Tracy said quietly. Danny stared at the Calaxian ships surrounding them. Something in that sensor sweep had alarmed these aliens badly enough to call in their highest leader. But what? The Endeavor was a standard human warship, 20 years old and showing its age. They had decent weapons but nothing revolutionary. Their engines were really hours, turned into a full day, and the Endeavor remained locked in position, surrounded by the Calaxian fleet. Danny had stopped counting how many times he had tried to contact the aliens. Each attempt received the same automated response, asking for patience while the Coalition Council met. His crew was getting restless, and Danny couldn't blame them. "Captain, I think I found something," Kevin said, looking up from the science station where he had been working for the past 12 hours. His eyes were red from lack of sleep, and he had 3 empty coffee cups next to his workstation. "But you're not going to like it." Danny walked over to join him. "Show me." Kevin pulled up a series of graphs and data streams on the screen. When the Calaxians scanned us, most of it was standard stuff. They looked at our hull, our engines, our weapons, basic first contact protocol, but then they shifted to these frequencies. He pointed to a specific section of the data. "These are quantum-level sensors, Captain, the kind of equipment you use to study subatomic particles, not ships. Why would they scan us with that kind of equipment?" "That's what I've been trying to figure out," Kevin said, pulling up another display. "I managed to reconstruct some of their sensor readings from the reflected data. They weren't scanning the ship anymore, Captain. They were scanning us. The crew. They were looking at our bodies, at the quantum level." Danny felt a chill run down his spine. "That's unusual." "It's more than unusual, sir. It's the kind of scan you'd do if you were studying a completely unknown life form. But humans aren't unknown to them. They've been watching us for years, remember? They know what we look like, what we're made of. So why run these kinds of scans?" Before Danny could answer, Lisa called out from her station. "Captain, Incoming transmission from the Calaxian flagship. It's High Curator Velshara herself. Finally. Put her on screen. The view screen shifted to show a new alien. Velshara was similar to Selthor but older, with more pronounced ridges on her head and skin that had a deeper blue tone. Her large eyes studied Danny with an intensity that made him uncomfortable. "Captain Morgan, I apologize for the delay in our communications," Velshara said. Her voice was smoother than Zelthor's, with a quality that reminded Danny of a professor addressing a student. "The Coalition has been engaged in urgent discussions about the results of our sensor sweep." "What did you find?" Danny asked directly. "Your people have had my ship surrounded for a full day without explanation. My crew deserves to know what's happening." Velshara was quiet for a moment, as if choosing her words carefully. "Captain, what I am about to tell you will sound impossible. The Coalition Council has spent the last 26 hours confirming and reconfirming our findings because we could not believe the data ourselves." Danny felt Greg move closer behind him, and he knew his first officer was listening carefully to every word. "Your ship's technology is unremarkable," Velshara continued. "Your weapons are adequate but not impressive. Your engines are functional but not advanced. None of this surprised us. What did surprise us was your crew." "What about my crew?" "Captain, in the Coalition's 3,000 years of space exploration, we have encountered 419 distinct species. We have scanned them all, studied their biology, mapped their genetic codes. Every species we have met exists in a standard quantum state. Their particles follow predictable patterns. Their probability fields are normal." Velshara paused. "Humans do not." Danny glanced at Kevin, who looked as confused as Danny felt. "I don't understand." "Every member of your crew exists in what our scientists call a quantum superposition state," Velshara explained. "At the subatomic level, your particles do not follow the rules that govern every other known species. You exist in multiple probability states simultaneously, and those states collapse in patterns that consistently favor your survival and success." Kevin's jaw dropped. He turned to his console and began frantically pulling up data, muttering to himself. "Hi, Curator, I'm not a scientist," Danny said. "Can you explain what that means in simpler terms?" Velshara seemed to consider how to phrase it. "Your species unconsciously manipulates probability, Captain. What you call luck or intuition or gut feelings is actually your biology affecting reality at the quantum level. You make the universe bend slightly in your favor without even knowing you're doing it." The bridge went completely silent. Danny heard someone drop something in the background, but no one spoke. "That's impossible," Greg finally said. "We thought so as well," Velshara replied. "Zelthor has been running verification tests for the entire day. The results are conclusive. When we scanned your ship, we were looking at 200 probability fields all interacting with each other. The mathematical patterns are undeniable." Danny tried to process what he was hearing. It sounded like science fiction, like something from the fantasy novels his daughter read back on Earth. "Hi, Curator. If this is true, why hasn't anyone noticed it before? Humans have been studying quantum mechanics for over a century. Because the effect is subtle when viewed from inside the system," Velshara explained. "Your scientists see quantum behavior in controlled laboratory conditions, but they are part of the same probability field they are trying to study. They cannot see the pattern from the outside. The Coalition can because we observe you from beyond your probability field." Kevin was typing furiously now, pulling up historical data and running calculations. Danny could see equations scrolling across his screen faster than anyone could read them. "Zelthor has been reviewing your species' history," Velshara continued. "The evidence is everywhere once you know to look for it. Your home planet Earth is unusually dangerous. Yes? Yet your species survived and thrived. Your early space missions had catastrophic failure rates. Yet your astronauts survived situations that should have killed them. Your colony ships faced disasters, yet you are still here. Time and again, humans experience what you call close calls or narrow escapes. These are not coincidences, Captain. They are probability fields collapsing in your favor." "Why are you telling us this?" Danny asked. And why did you surround my ship? Velshara's expression became grave. The Coalition is debating what to do with this information. Some members believe humans are dangerous. If your ability to manipulate probability grows stronger as your population increases, you could eventually destabilize reality itself. Others believe you are the answer to questions we have been asking for millennia. We need to understand whether humans can be trusted with the knowledge of what you are. Danny felt anger rising in his chest. You're deciding our fate based on something we didn't even know we could do? We are trying to make the right decision, Velshara said. That is why I am being honest with you now. The Coalition values transparency, even when the truth is difficult. Zelthor has proposed a test. If humans truly manipulate probability unconsciously, you should be able to demonstrate it under controlled conditions. We would like to conduct a joint training exercise with your crew. And if we refuse, then the Coalition will have to make decisions based on incomplete information, Velshara said simply. I do not believe that would be good for humanity. Danny looked around his bridge. His crew was staring at him, waiting for his decision. Greg looked skeptical. Lisa seemed frightened. Tracy looked fascinated. Kevin was still buried in his calculations, but Danny could see his hands shaking slightly. Captain, Kevin said suddenly, looking up from his screen. The math works. I've been running the numbers against our mission logs for the past year. We've had 17 critical system failures. Standard probability says we should have lost the ship at least 3 times, but we didn't. And when I map out the quantum fluctuations in the sensor data Velshara mentioned, they spike during each crisis, right when we needed them most. Danny felt like the deck was shifting under his feet. Everything he thought he understood about the universe was being rewritten. High Curator, I need time to discuss this with my crew and contact Earth Command. Of course, Velshara said. But Captain, I must ask that you keep this information contained for now. If humanity learns what you can do before you understand it, the consequences could be severe. Imagine if your military leaders believed they could manipulate reality. Imagine if individuals tried to exploit this ability. The chaos would be catastrophic. I understand, Danny said, though he hated the position this put him in. Give me 12 hours. You have my word that the Coalition will not interfere during that time, Velshara said. We will await your decision. The screen went dark. Danny turned to face his senior officers, all of whom Danny sat in his ready room, staring at the response from Earth Command. The message had taken 6 hours to arrive due to the distance, and it was as conflicted as he expected. The admirals wanted proof, the scientists wanted data, and the politicians wanted time to think. But they all agreed on one thing. Danny should cooperate with the Calaxian test. Earth needed to know if this was real. He called his senior staff together in the conference room. Amy had joined them now, looking tired but alert. Kevin had barely slept, but his eyes were bright with excitement as he presented his findings. I've analyzed every major event in human space exploration history, Kevin explained, projecting data on the wall screen. Colony ship disasters, first contact situations, military engagements, exploration missions. The pattern is consistent. Humans survive situations that should kill us at rates that defy probability. It's not that we're better prepared or smarter. It's that reality seems to give us just a little bit of extra help at critical moments. But we're not invincible, Greg pointed out. Humans die all the time. Ships are lost. Colonies fail. True, Kevin agreed. The effect is subtle, not absolute. It's like having loaded dice that come up favorable 60% of the time, instead of 50%. Over thousands of events, that small advantage adds up to something significant. But any individual event can still go wrong. Tracy spoke up from her position at the table. I've been thinking about my navigation work. There have been times when I changed course based on nothing but a feeling. And it always worked out. I thought it was experience or instinct, but what if it was something else? That's what the Calaxians want to test, Danny said. Velshara has sent over the details of their exercise. They've designed a series of challenges specifically to have 50-50 probability outcomes. They want to see if we unconsciously tip those odds in our favor. Amy leaned forward. And if we do? What then? Then we've confirmed that humans have an ability that could change everything we understand about the universe, Danny said. Earth Command wants us to proceed. They're sending specialist teams to analyze whatever we learn. But they won't arrive for weeks. For now, we're on our own. I don't like being tested like lab animals, Greg muttered. Neither do I, Danny admitted. But refusing would make the coalition decide our fate based on fear instead of facts. At least this way. We get to show them what humans can do. The vote was unanimous. The Endeavor would participate in the test. 2 days later, Danny stood on the bridge as the exercise began. The Calaxians had provided detailed parameters for the test. The Endeavor would navigate through a dense asteroid field while responding to simulated system failures. Every obstacle was carefully calibrated to have exactly 50-50 odds of success if the crew followed optimal procedures. Zelthor's science vessel would monitor the quantum field readings throughout the exercise. Starting run now, Tracy announced. Her hands moved smoothly over the navigation controls as the Endeavor entered the asteroid field. Danny watched the view screen as massive rocks drifted past. Some as large as moons. Others, no bigger than houses. The field was dense enough to require constant course corrections. Simulated coolant leak in the port engine, Amy reported from engineering. I'm getting cascade warnings across multiple systems. I need to reroute power. But there are 3 possible configurations. No way to know which one will work best without trying them all. Trust your instincts, Danny said. Choose one and commit to it. Amy's fingers hesitated over her console for just a moment. Then she made her choice, tapping in a complex series of commands. Rerouting through secondary conduits. This shouldn't work based on the load calculations, but something tells me it will. The ship shuddered slightly as the power systems reconfigured. Warning lights flickered on Amy's console, then steadied. The simulated leak was contained. That worked better than it should have, Amy said, sounding surprised. The secondary systems are running hot, but they're stable. According to my readouts, they should have overloaded. Tracy called out from navigation. Captain, I've got 2 paths through the next cluster. Left route looks safer on sensors, but I've got a feeling about the right path. Permission to follow my gut? Danny glanced at Greg, who shrugged. Do it. Tracy guided the ship through the right-hand path. It looked narrower on the sensors, with asteroids closing in from multiple directions, but as the Endeavor threaded through the gap, Danny noticed something odd. The asteroids seemed to shift slightly in their orbits, creating just a bit more space than the sensors had predicted. It was subtle, almost within the margin of error. But it happened at exactly the right moments. Did you see that? Greg asked quietly. I saw it, Danny confirmed. His heart was beating faster. This was real. Whatever the Calaxians had discovered, it was actually happening right in front of them. The exercise continued. Lisa received a simulated distress signal with corrupted data. She had to interpret partial information and make educated guesses about what the message said. Her guesses turned out to be perfectly correct. Greg faced a tactical scenario where he had to choose between 3 defensive positions with no clear advantage to any of them. His choice put them in position to avoid a simulated asteroid collision that the sensors hadn't predicted until seconds before impact. Every crew member who participated in the exercise succeeded at tasks that should have had 50-50 odds. Some succeeded because their random choices happened to be correct. Others succeeded because external factors shifted in their favor at critical moments. But they all succeeded. Danny could feel it now, like a tingling at the back of his mind. When Tracy asked for permission to make an unusual maneuver, Danny found himself saying yes before he consciously decided to. When Amy proposed a repair sequence that looked wrong on paper, Danny knew it would work. It wasn't logical. It was deeper than logic. Like his subconscious was reading patterns in reality that his conscious mind couldn't see. After 2 hours, the exercise ended. The Endeavor had faced 23 challenges designed to have even odds. They had succeeded at 21 of them. The two failures had been situations where the crew deliberately ignored their instincts and followed pure logic instead. Velshara's face appeared on the view screen. Captain Morgan, Zelthor has shared his findings with me. The results are remarkable. Your crew's quantum field readings spiked dramatically during decision points. Each time a crew member made a choice based on intuition rather than pure calculation, we observed probability waves collapsing in patterns that favored success. So it's confirmed, Danny said. Humans really do this. Yes, Velshara confirmed. But Captain, we observed something even more interesting. When your crew members deliberately suppressed their instincts and relied only on logic, the quantum effect disappeared. The probability fields remained random. This suggests the ability is not automatic. It requires a certain mental state, perhaps one where conscious thought and unconscious intuition work together. Kevin was frantically taking notes. Hi, Curator. Does that mean humans could learn to control this consciously? That is the question, Dr. Hayes, Velshara said, and it is why the Coalition Council has reached a decision. We believe humans are not a threat but an opportunity. Your species may be the key to understanding the connection between consciousness and quantum mechanics, a mystery that has puzzled the Coalition for centuries. Danny felt relief wash over him. So you're not going to try to contain or eliminate us? Oh. No, Captain. We are going to invite you to join us. Velshara's expression softened into what might have been a smile. The Coalition Council has voted to offer humanity associate membership in our alliance. We want to study this ability together, learn how it works, and understand what it means for all species. But we need your cooperation and your trust. What does associate membership mean? Greg asked. It means humanity will have access to Coalition technology, knowledge, and trade, Velshara explained. In return, we ask that human volunteers work with our scientists to map this quantum ability. We also ask that Earth keep this discovery quiet until we understand it better. If other species learn that humans can manipulate probability before we understand the full implications, it could cause panic or conflict. Danny looked around at his crew. They looked back at him with expressions ranging from excitement to concern. This was bigger than any decision he had made in his career. This would affect all of humanity. I need to consult with Earth Command, Danny said. But personally, High Curator, I think this is an opportunity we should take. Humans have always survived by adapting and learning. If we have this ability, we need to understand it. And I'd rather do that with friends than alone. Velshara nodded. Take the time you need, Captain. The Coalition has waited 3,000 years to find another species with this gift. We can wait a few more days for your answer. After the transmission ended, Danny's crew erupted into excited conversation. Tracy was talking rapidly about navigation techniques she wanted to test. Amy was theorizing about how this might explain certain engineering miracles she had pulled off over the years. Kevin was already planning research proposals. Only Greg remained quiet, standing next to Danny at the command station. What are you thinking? Danny asked his first officer. Danny stood in the observation lounge of the Calaxian flagship, looking out at the fleet assembled around them. It had been 3 days since the test, and Earth Command had finally sent their response. They authorized Danny to negotiate with the Coalition on humanity's behalf. It was the kind of responsibility that should have terrified him. But instead, Danny felt oddly calm. Maybe that was the quantum ability at work. Or maybe he was just too tired to panic anymore. Velshara entered the lounge with Zelthor following behind her. The two Calaxians moved with a grace that made Danny feel clumsy by comparison. They gestured for him to sit at a low table that adjusted its height to accommodate human proportions. Captain Morgan, thank you for agreeing to meet with us, Velshara began. I understand Earth Command has made a decision. They have, Danny confirmed. Humanity accepts your offer of associate membership in the Coalition. We agree to participate in research about the quantum ability, and will keep the discovery quiet until we better understand what it means. But we have conditions. Of course, Velshara said. Please state them. Danny pulled out a datapad with the list Earth Command had sent. First, Any research must be voluntary. No human can be forced to participate. Second, humans must have full access to all findings. This isn't just your discovery to study, it's our biology, and we have a right to understand it. Third, if the research reveals any dangers or problems with the ability, the Coalition must share that information immediately with Earth. These terms are acceptable, Velshera said without hesitation. The Coalition values consent and transparency. We would not have it any other way. There's one more thing, Danny added. Earth Command wants to understand why this ability exists. How did humans develop it when no other species has? Zelthor leaned forward, his large eyes reflecting the starlight from the window. We have a theory about that, Captain. May I explain? Please. We have studied your homeworld extensively, Zelthor said. Earth is what we classify as a Class 4 death world. It is unusually hostile to life compared to the worlds where most Coalition species evolved. Your planet has extreme weather, dangerous predators, regular mass extinction events, and a volatile climate. Most species that evolve on Class 4 worlds never develop intelligence because survival requires so much energy that complex brains become a disadvantage. But humans survived, Danny said. Yes, and we believe your quantum ability is why. Zelthor explained. Natural selection on Earth favored individuals who could unconsciously manipulate probability in their favor. A human ancestor who had a slightly better chance of avoiding predators, finding food, or surviving climate disasters would pass on their genes. Over millions of years, this trait became stronger and more refined. By the time humans developed intelligence, the ability was deeply embedded in your biology. Kevin had joined them for this meeting, and he spoke up now. So, you're saying this ability is an evolutionary adaptation? Like how some animals develop camouflage or speed? Exactly, Zelthor confirmed. Most species evolve physical or behavioral adaptations to their environment. Humans evolved a quantum adaptation. You learned to unconsciously make the universe slightly friendlier to your survival. Danny tried to wrap his mind around the concept. But if this is genetic, does that mean all humans have it? Or just some of us? All humans have it to some degree, Zelthor replied. But the strength varies between individuals. Just like any other trait. Some humans are better at unconsciously collapsing probability fields than others. We suspect this is what you call luck. People you think of as lucky are actually individuals with a stronger quantum ability. Can it be measured? Kevin asked. Could we test humans to see who has the strongest ability? Yes, with the right equipment, Zelthor said. The Coalition can build portable quantum field analyzers that would allow you to scan individuals. But Captain, I must caution you about this. If humans learn they can be ranked by their probability manipulation ability, it could create dangerous social divisions. Velshera nodded in agreement. The Coalition has seen how species respond to genetic advantages. It rarely ends well. If some humans are labeled as more quantum capable than others, your society might split into groups based on this ability. That is why we urge caution in how this information is shared with your people. Danny understood the concern. He had seen enough of human history to know how people treated those who were different. Earth Command is already worried about that. They want to release this information slowly, starting with scientists and military leaders who can understand the implications. A wise approach, Velshera said. Now, Captain, there is something else we must discuss. Our research has revealed another aspect of this ability that you need to understand. The way she said it made Danny tense. What aspect? Velshera exchanged a glance with Zelthor before continuing. The quantum ability requires a certain mental state to function. When humans are relaxed, intuitive, and trusting of their instincts, the ability works at full strength. When humans are stressed, overthinking, or trying to force outcomes through pure logic, the ability weakens or disappears entirely. That matches what we observed during the test, Danny said. When my crew trusted their gut feelings, they succeeded. When they ignored those feelings, the probability advantage disappeared. Correct, Zelthor said. But here is what concerns us. As humans become aware of this ability, they may try to consciously control it. Our models suggest that conscious interference actually disrupts the quantum field. The ability works best when humans are not thinking about it. Kevin frowned. So you're saying that by learning about this ability, we might actually weaken it? That is our fear, Velshera admitted. It is similar to how thinking too hard about breathing can make breathing feel difficult. The process works best when it remains unconscious. This is why we must proceed carefully with the research. We need to find a way for humans to understand their ability without disrupting it. Danny felt a weight settle in his stomach. You're saying that telling humanity about this gift might actually be taking it away from them? Not entirely, Zelthor clarified. The ability is genetic and cannot be removed, but it could be weakened if humans become too self-conscious about it. However, we have also observed something hopeful during your test. Some of your crew members became aware of the quantum effect during the exercise, yet their ability actually grew stronger, not weaker. Who? Danny asked. Your navigator, Tracy Wells, showed the most dramatic increase, Zelthor explained. When she consciously acknowledged that her instincts were guiding her, her quantum field readings intensified. She learned to trust the ability more deeply rather than questioning it. This suggests that awareness does not automatically weaken the effect. It depends on how humans respond to the knowledge. Danny thought about Tracy. She had always been the kind of person who trusted her gut, who made decisions based on feelings as much as facts. Maybe that personality trait made her better suited to work with the quantum ability consciously. Can this be taught? Danny asked. Can humans learn to enhance the ability instead of disrupting it? That is what we hope to discover, Velshara said. The Coalition proposes a training program. We would work with human volunteers to help them perceive their quantum field and learn to strengthen it through awareness rather than control. Think of it like meditation or mindfulness training. The goal is not to force the ability but to support it. How long would this take? Years, perhaps decades, Velshara admitted. We are exploring completely unknown territory. No species in Coalition history has had this ability, so we have no existing techniques to draw from. We will be learning together. Kevin was taking notes furiously on his datapad. Hi, Curator. I have to ask, why is the Coalition helping us with this? What do you gain from understanding human quantum abilities? Quote, Velshara's expression became thoughtful. Dr. Hayes, the Coalition has existed for 3,000 years. We have achieved remarkable technological advancement and social stability, but we have also become stagnant. We solve problems the same way we have always solved them. We think the same way we have always thought. Encountering humanity has reminded us that the universe is stranger and more wonderful than we believed. She gestured toward the window, where stars glittered in the darkness. If consciousness and quantum mechanics are connected as your species suggests, it changes everything we understand about reality. It means the universe is not just a mechanical system following fixed rules. It means observation and intention can shape outcomes. This has philosophical implications that will take generations to fully explore. The Coalition gains the opportunity to see the universe through completely new eyes. Plus, Exelthor added with what might have been humor, if we can learn even a fraction of what humans do unconsciously, imagine what the Coalition could achieve. Probability manipulation could help us solve problems that have plagued us for millennia. Resource scarcity, accident prevention, optimal decision-making. The applications are endless. Danny understood now. The Coalition wasn't just being altruistic. They saw humans as a resource, a source of knowledge that could benefit all species. As long as the relationship remained mutual and respectful, Danny thought that was fair. When do we start? Danny asked. Immediately, if you are willing, Velshara said. We have prepared research facilities where human volunteers can work with Coalition scientists. We will provide you with quantum field analyzers to take back to Earth so your own scientists can begin independent research. And we will assign a liaison team to your ship to continue monitoring your crew's development. There's one thing I need to know, Danny said. What happens if this goes wrong? What if studying this ability causes problems we don't anticipate? Velshara met his eyes directly. Then the coalition will help humanity deal with those problems. You are not alone in this, Captain. We are partners now. Your success is our success. And your challenges are our challenges. That is what it means to be part of the coalition. 3 months had passed since the first meeting with the Calaxian Coalition, and the Endeavor had become the center of the most important research project in human history. Danny stood in what used to be the ship's main cargo bay, now converted into a quantum research laboratory. Coalition scientists worked alongside human researchers, their equipment filling the space with soft blue lights and quiet humming sounds. Tracy Wells sat in the center of the lab, wearing a headset covered in sensors. Her eyes were closed as she practiced the new techniques the Coalition had been teaching her. Around her, holographic displays showed her quantum field in real time, a shimmering web of probability waves that pulsed and shifted with her thoughts. "How does it feel?" Kevin asked from his monitoring station. He had barely left the lab since the research began, living off coffee and excitement. "Strange," Tracy replied without opening her eyes. "It's like learning to see a new color. I can feel the probability field now. All the possible outcomes spreading out from every choice. Before, I just followed my instincts. Now, I can actually perceive what my instincts were sensing." Zelthor made an adjustment to one of his instruments. "Your field strength has increased by 17% since we began training. You are learning to work with the ability consciously instead of fighting it." Danny watched from the observation area above the lab. Greg stood beside him, arms crossed as he studied the displays. "Still looks like magic to me," Greg muttered. "Maybe magic is just science we don't understand yet," Danny replied. "The Coalition has been studying quantum mechanics for thousands of years, and they still can't fully explain how humans do this. They just know that we do." A chime sounded, and Lisa's voice came through Danny's communicator. "Captain, you have an incoming transmission from Earth. Priority 1. Danny left the lab and headed to his ready room. The transmission was from Admiral Patricia Hunt, the head of Earth's Space Exploration Command. Her face appeared on his screen, looking tired but determined. "Captain Morgan, I'm sending you updated orders," she said without preamble. "The Coalition has made an official offer to humanity. They want to establish a joint research station in neutral space where humans and Coalition scientists can study the quantum ability together. Earth Command has approved the project, and we're assigning the Endeavor as the human presence at the station." Danny felt a surge of pride. "Understood, Admiral. When do we begin?" "The Coalition is already building the station. It will be ready in 2 months. Until then, continue your current research and prepare your crew for extended deployment. This is going to be a multi-year assignment. Danny, we're asking you and your people to be humanity's representatives in the biggest discovery since we learned we weren't alone in the universe." "My crew won't let you down, Admiral." Hunt's expression softened slightly. "I know they won't. But Danny, I need you to understand something. Not everyone on Earth is happy about this discovery. Some religious groups think we're messing with forces we shouldn't touch. Some military leaders want to weaponize the ability before we even understand it. Some politicians are scared of what this means for human society. You're going to be caught in the middle of all that." "I can handle it," Danny said. "I hope so. Because what you're doing out there is going to change humanity forever. Make sure it changes us for the better." Also, after the transmission ended, Danny sat alone in his ready room, thinking about the Admiral's words. She was right that this discovery would transform human civilization. Already, the news was starting to leak despite efforts to keep it quiet. Scientists were debating what quantum consciousness meant for free will and determinism. Philosophers were arguing about whether human achievements counted if they were aided by probability manipulation. Religious leaders were trying to fit the discovery into their understanding of divine providence or natural law. And that was before most people even knew the full truth. A knock at his door pulled Danny from his thoughts. "Come in." Amy entered, looking uncertain. Captain, do you have a minute? I need to talk to you about something. Of course. Sit down. Amy took a seat across from his desk, her hands fidgeting in her lap. I've been thinking about this quantum ability thing. About what it means for me personally. Go on. I've been an engineer for 15 years, Amy said. I've pulled off repairs that other engineers said were impossible. I've improvised solutions that shouldn't have worked. I always thought I was just good at my job. That I had a talent for seeing solutions others missed. But now I'm wondering if it was just the quantum thing. Was I ever actually good at engineering, or was I just unconsciously warping reality to make my bad ideas work? Danny recognized the doubt in her voice. He had been wrestling with similar questions himself. Amy, the Coalition has been clear about this. The quantum ability gives humans a slight edge, but it doesn't replace skill or knowledge. You still need to know engineering to be an engineer. The ability just helps you succeed when you make the right choices. But how do I know which choices were right, and which ones just worked because of probability manipulation? Amy asked. How do I trust my own competence anymore? It was a good question, one that Danny suspected many humans would be asking themselves soon. I think you're looking at this wrong. The quantum ability is part of who you are, part of what makes you human. It's not cheating. It's just another tool in your toolbox, like your knowledge or your experience. You wouldn't question whether your eyes are cheating when you look at a problem, would you? I guess not, Amy admitted. The Coalition thinks this ability is what allowed humans to survive long enough to develop intelligence, Danny continued. Without it, our species would have gone extinct millions of years ago. So in a way, everything humans have ever achieved is built on this foundation. That doesn't make our achievements less real. It makes them possible. Amy nodded slowly. I'm going to need time to get used to this. We all will, Danny said. But Amy, the Coalition is offering training to help humans work with this ability consciously. You should volunteer for the program. Learn to trust your instincts even more than you already do. Become the best version of yourself. Maybe I will, Amy said, standing up. Thanks, Captain. I needed to hear that. After she left, Danny returned to the lab. Tracy was still practicing. But now other crew members had joined her. Lieutenant Martin Cruz from security was learning to perceive probability fields during tactical scenarios. Dr. Sarah Kim from medical was exploring whether the ability could be used to improve diagnostic accuracy. Even Greg had grudgingly agreed to try the training, though he still insisted it felt weird. Excelthor approached Danny with a data pad showing the latest results. Captain, I wanted to share something interesting with you. We have been monitoring not just individual quantum fields, but how they interact when humans work together. Look at this. He showed Danny a holographic display of the bridge crew during a simulated emergency. Each crew member had their own quantum field, but those fields overlapped and reinforced each other, creating a combined effect that was stronger than any individual. When humans cooperate toward a common goal, their probability fields synchronize. Selthor explained. This creates what we call a quantum resonance effect. The more unified the group, the stronger their collective ability to manipulate probability. This may explain why human teams often achieve results that seem impossible based on the capabilities of any single member. So, teamwork literally makes us stronger, Danny said. In more ways than you knew. Zelthor confirmed. Captain, this has profound implications. If humans can learn to deliberately create quantum resonance, the effects could be extraordinary. A ship crew working in perfect synchronization could navigate situations that would destroy any other vessel. A colony working together could overcome disasters that would wipe out other settlements. A diplomatic team could find solutions to conflicts that seem unsolvable. End quote. Danny felt excitement building in his chest. Can you teach us to create that resonance deliberately? That is what we hope to learn at the Joint Research Station, Zelthor said. But Captain, I must warn you. This also means that human conflict creates quantum interference. When humans work against each other, their probability fields can cancel out, or even actively oppose each other. This may explain why human societies often struggle with internal divisions, despite your species' remarkable problem-solving abilities. So unity makes us stronger, and division makes us weaker, Danny said. That's not exactly a new lesson for humanity. So, no, but now you understand it at a fundamental level of reality, Zelthor replied. What you call social harmony or teamwork is not just a nice idea. It is a quantum mechanical advantage built into your species. Over the following weeks, more human volunteers arrived from Earth to join the research program. The Endeavor's crew trained alongside them, learning to perceive and work with their quantum abilities. The improvement was measurable. Navigation became more precise. Engineering repairs became more reliable. Medical diagnoses became more accurate. Not dramatically so, but enough to make a difference in critical situations. The Coalition provided portable quantum field analyzers that human ships could use to monitor their crews. Training protocols were developed and shared across human space. Slowly, carefully, humanity began to embrace this new understanding of what they were. Not everyone was comfortable with the change. Some humans refused the training, afraid of what it meant to consciously manipulate reality. Others became obsessed with maximizing their quantum ability, pushing themselves to extremes in pursuit of stronger probability fields. The Coalition warned that balance was essential. The ability worked best when humans remained grounded, humble, and connected to others. 6 months after first contact, the Joint Research Station was complete. Named the Probability Nexus by human vote and approved by the Coalition Council, it orbited a beautiful blue star in neutral space between human and Coalition territories. The Endeavor became the first human ship to dock at the station, welcomed by representatives from all 12 Coalition species. Danny stood in the station's main observation deck, looking out at the gathered fleet of ships from across the galaxy. Human vessels mixed with Calaxian science ships, transport vessels from other Coalition species, and research platforms that would serve as humanity's window into quantum mechanics. Velshara joined him at the window. Your species has adapted to this knowledge faster than we anticipated, Captain. In 6 months, you have integrated quantum awareness training into your military academies, your medical schools, and your space exploration programs. Most species would have taken years to reach this point. Maybe that's the quantum ability at work too, Danny said with a smile. Humans have always been good at adapting to new situations. Now we know why. Perhaps, Velshara said. But I think it is more than that. Your species has a quality that the Coalition has lost over our long history. You have hope. You believe that understanding yourselves better will make you better. Not all species would respond to this discovery with such optimism. We've had our share of pessimism too, Danny admitted. But at the end of the day, humans would rather know the truth than remain ignorant. Even if the truth is strange, Tracy approached them, practically bouncing with excitement. Captain, Zelthor wants to try the first group resonance exercise. We're going to synchronize the quantum fields of 20 humans and 20 Calaxians to see if we can create a combined effect. Can you believe it? We might be able to teach other species to do what humans do naturally. Danny looked at Velshara, who nodded. The Coalition has much to learn from humanity, Captain. But we also have much to teach. Together, perhaps we can unlock abilities that neither humans nor Coalition species could achieve alone. As Danny watched Tracy hurry back to the laboratory, he thought about how far humanity had come. They had gone into space as explorers, hoping to find their place among the stars. They had discovered that place was unique, that humans possessed an ability no other known species had. But instead of that making humans separate or superior, it had brought them into partnership with civilizations that spanned the galaxy. The universe was stranger than anyone had imagined. Consciousness and quantum mechanics were linked in ways that would take generations to fully understand. Reality itself could be shaped by observation and intention, at least to a small degree. The implications would ripple through every field of human knowledge, from physics to philosophy, from medicine to military strategy. But most importantly, Danny thought, humanity now understood something fundamental about themselves. They were not just survivors. They were active participants in the universe, unconsciously shaping probability in their favor through millions of years of evolution. Learning to do that consciously would not be easy. It would require humans to balance awareness with intuition, knowledge with trust, individual ability with group cooperation. Danny suspected humanity would make mistakes along the way. They would push too hard sometimes, and not hard enough at other times. They would argue about the implications and struggle with the philosophical questions. They would try to weaponize the ability and hopefully learn why that was a bad idea. They would be tempted by the power of probability, manipulation, and hopefully learn the value of humility. But they would also grow. They would learn. They would adapt. Because that was what humans had always done. What they had been doing unconsciously for their entire existence. Now they would do it with eyes wide open, understanding the quantum foundation of their own success. Greg joined Danny at the observation window, holding 2 cups of coffee. He handed one to Danny without a word. They stood together in silence, watching the stars. "So," Greg finally said, "think we're ready for this?" Danny took a sip of his coffee and smiled. "We've been ready for this our whole lives. We just didn't know it." Below them in the station, Tracy was laughing as Zelthor explained the next experiment. Human and alien scientists worked side by side, exploring mysteries that neither species could solve alone. Ships from across the galaxy gathered to witness the beginning of a new era of understanding. The warship that had been scanned 3 months ago was no longer just a military vessel. The Endeavor had become a symbol of humanity's potential, proof that humans were more than they had believed themselves to be. The scan that had revealed humanity's quantum ability had rewritten everything humans thought they knew about the universe and their place in it. And this, Danny thought, was only the beginning. Danny felt something release in his chest, a tension he hadn't realized he was carrying. For 3 days, he had been carrying the weight of this decision alone. Now he had allies. "Then let's begin," Danny said. "Let's figure out what humans really are and what we can become." Velshara stood and extended her hand in the human gesture of agreement. "Welcome to the coalition, Captain Morgan. I believe this is the beginning of something extraordinary." As Danny shook her hand, he felt that familiar tingle at the back of his mind, the sense that something good was about to happen. For the first time, he recognized it for what it was. Not luck, not coincidence, but his own biology quietly shifting probability in his favor. The thought should have been disturbing, but instead it filled him with wonder. Humans had been doing this their entire existence without knowing it. Now they would learn to do it with awareness. The universe would never be the same. "I'm thinking that we just learned humans have been cheating at reality our whole existence," Greg said. "And I'm not sure how I feel about that. Does it mean our successes weren't really earned? That we've just been lucky this whole time?" Danny considered the question carefully. "I don't think so. The Calaxian said the effect is subtle. We still have to make good decisions, work hard, and be smart. This ability just gives us a slight edge, like having good reflexes or sharp eyesight. It's part of what makes us human." "I hope you're right," Greg said. "Because if Earth learns about this, it's going to change everything." Danny looked out at the stars beyond the view screen. Greg was right. Nothing would be the same after this. Humans had gone to space thinking they were just another species trying to survive in a vast universe. Now they knew they were something unique, something that could bend the rules of reality itself. The question was what humanity would do with that knowledge, oaked, shaken by what they had just heard. "Well," Greg said after a long silence, "that was unexpected." Danny almost laughed at the understatement. "Kevin, I want you to verify everything Velshara told us. Lisa, prepare a secure transmission to Earth Command with everything we've learned. Greg, start thinking about what this test might involve and how we should approach it. And someone find Amy and bring her up to speed. If we're going to make a decision about this, I want my whole senior staff involved." As his crew moved to follow his orders, Danny walked to the view screen and stared out at the Calaxian fleet. Somewhere out there, Aliens were debating whether humanity was dangerous or valuable, based on an ability humans didn't even know they had. He thought about all the times in his life when things had worked out just a little too perfectly. That promotion he got when the other candidate suddenly withdrew. The battle where enemy weapons inexplicably malfunctioned. The asteroid that missed his ship by meters when the odds said it should have hit them. Had it all been real? Or had he been unconsciously warping reality his entire life? The thought was terrifying and thrilling at the same time. Blell, but not impressive. Their computers were upgraded regularly, but still ran on principles that humans had understood for a century. Kevin, go through every bit of data you can pull from their scan, Danny ordered. I want to know what they were looking at. Greg, plot us an escape route just in case this turns ugly. Lisa, keep trying to establish communication. And someone get me a coffee. I have a feeling this is going to be a long night. As his crew jumped into action, Danny settled into his command chair and studied the alien ships on his view screen. The Calaxians had seemed friendly at first. Now they had the Endeavor surrounded and wouldn't explain why. Whatever they had discovered during that scan, it had changed everything. Danny just wished he knew what it was.